Well, good morning. It's Longhaultanker, straight razor shaving with Longhaultanker, and this morning is Tuesday, the 4th of February, 2025, at approximately 10:35 a.m. Central Time, and I've got 48 hours worth of whisker growth on my face since my last shave, which was off camera on Sunday morning. The last shave was Friday on video, nonetheless. And so let's go over the equipment for this morning. And I got stories. It had been an interesting few days. So for the face shave this morning, we're going to use the Wacker Schmidt Wacker Soligen, Schmidt Soligen, what's that say? Established, no. Half hollow, I think that says. And best, I can't read it. Best brand is what that looks like. And the words, the half HOHL, so it must be German. Let's see if I can get that a little closer so you can see it. Anyway, there it is. For those of you that may not have been watching me for very long, but we have to go back a couple years or more, I think I bought this, 4 or 5 years ago, again, or more. This has been a long time problem child, and it's only been within the last 2-3 years that the problem child began to start behaving. Took a lot of work, just hone and get down finally to some good steel on it. And at some point you get kind of desperate with these problem child razors. You take the edge and you just start going, sideways on it and getting down to, like I said, desperate measures to try and get down to good steel. So you grind off the edge and then you start resetting the bevel and the edge and you get kind of crazy. I just did that out of general instinct with no particular training or reading or advice other than, how do you go about doing the research to figure out how to tame a problem child? It's just very difficult. Another problem child, that's interesting. I did that not on purpose, that I had for a long time was this Dovo, Colonel Ichabod conch, and only very recently has this one started to come into holding an edge, giving me a sharp edge to shave with. So been using this primarily as a head shaver over the last several months or so. But I'm going to start the face shave with this razor to see how well it does, just because I want to. And then we'll move to the Wacker soon enough. All right, so let me close these up here for safety's sake. All right, there's that. My soap today, Martin de Condé Rose. Not exactly my favorite scent of the Martin de Condés. I bought this primarily out of sentimentality for my mother. My mother loved the rose scent, air fresheners, potpourri, other such similar items that she would have in use around the house when I was growing up. So it reminds me of my mother, and that's okay. Not as I remember, why did I get this again? Oh yeah, my mother liked rose scent. And I can remember as a kid, I don't really like the rose scent. I like the citrus scents more. Mom. The brush is going to be Simpson Chubby 3 Manchurian Badger set in faux horn. Just acrylic, but it looks nice enough. And put that back in. It's a two bend, as you can see, and whatever that means in the greater scheme of things, of all things Badger. I was asked recently about what I think about synthetic brushes, and I love Badger brushes, especially the higher end, Super Badger, Premium Silver Tip, High Mountain White. I'm not, and for the longest time, I did not like Badger boar brushes either, until that Sterling green-handled one came along. Now, what synthetic brushes I have are over here in the shower window. On this, I can't get my finger to point right. There, on that side of the window, over there. I've got 4 of them over there. One of them is also a Sterling Kong, big, I'd say probably easily 26, 28, maybe 30 millimeter. I have a Plasson synthetic. What's that small one? I don't remember. And then that one has got a dome-shaped knot on it. Well, it would be, HIS is the name of that one. And that was given to me some years ago when I was just getting started, and I ordered, anyway, these names escape me. Both of the brush that I ordered, the Badger brush that I ordered, and the company in Palm Springs. Well, I got my load assignment on Saturday, I guess. And it was to load, at first I was told it was going to load on Monday at 8 o'clock. And then later to discover that changed till 10 o'clock. And my boss didn't exactly communicate that to me in the clearest fashion. The paperwork still said 8 o'clock. And he said, in a text message, he says to me, well, I wouldn't be down here until 10 o'clock. And what he meant by that was that, and he knew the secret code, was that it was going to commence loading at 10 o'clock. And that's not the way he communicated it to me, because the paperwork still said load time 8 o'clock. And then he says to me, I wouldn't be down here before 10 o'clock. Well, I took that to mean it would be loaded and ready to go by 10 o'clock. And because he wasn't clear. And just because he says I wouldn't be down here before 10 o'clock doesn't prohibit me from going down earlier, which obviously I always go down to the truck the night before a load, because I don't want to have to drive an hour and a half, get up early on the morning of load time and departure. I don't want to have to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning if I don't have to, when I can go down and just as easily sleep in the truck and get those extra 2 or 3 hours or more of sleep time in the truck on the yard, and get up in the truck on the yard And if it's not loading until 10 o'clock, then I don't have to get up until 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. And I get a good night's sleep and restful sleep, assuming the truck's running okay and so forth. Now, the 4 days that I was off, that axle bearing was scheduled to be replaced and repaired, and presumably it was. I didn't see any oil on the ground. So I got down to the truck Sunday night at about 7:30 p.m., 21:30. Now, I use military time because that's what most of the trucking companies use, and it took some getting used to at early on when I started reciting everything in military time. And quite frankly, it's easy to get confused. If somebody tells you, yeah, you need to be there at 6 o'clock, well, which one? The one in the morning or the one in the evening? As opposed to if you say 0600 versus 1800. And so there's no confusion then. All right, so I got down to the truck about 19:30, 7:30, Sunday night. And of course, there's things you need to do. I got my gear all loaded up in the truck. And there's things you need to do, pre-trip inspection and so forth, certain items you have to do, should do, before you start the truck. Check the oil. You want, and I've heard a contradictory story here not long ago, but you check the oil, and you're always taught to do this before you start the engine, because all the oil is drained down into the crankcase, and your dipstick goes down into the crankcase. You pull the dipstick out, wipe it off, put it back in, bring it back out, and you look to see if it's full or empty or what stage it's at in case you need to put some more in. Well, it came back full. I had some guy tell me here recently, no, you've got to get the engine running and get the oil all distributed throughout the engine before you check the dipstick. And I've never heard that before in my life. And so I discounted that. And anyway, if you got something to say on that, that's all right. And that's good. I want to know if you've ever heard such a thing before. Because if you measure the oil that way, when it's running or after you've let it run for 5 or 10 minutes so it gets all distributed throughout the engine, and then shut it off and then check it as the oil's running back down into the crankcase, you're going to get strange readings. You're going to get contradictory readings, and it's going to be less than full. If it had been full, if you had measured it before you started the engine. So, but I started it before I started the engine. It was full. That was good enough for me. I put about a half a gallon of antifreeze in. Oh, now the thing about this razor is that it does a fine and good job on the head shave. And so it feels sharp. And so I've got enough whiskers, 2 days, 48 hours worth of whiskers. And we're just going to give a couple of strokes here and see if it feels, how it feels, if it's good enough for face shaving. And I'd say so-so. It's a little tuggy, but I think I'm getting along with it. Maybe I'll do some more on it. I can't remember if I've been using the Arkansas or just what, synthetic All right, so I'll close that down, set it aside. We'll do the head shave with it a little bit later. My wife is working from home today. She's on a conference call at the present. So I got down to the yard, like I say, about 7:30. Check the oil, check the antifreeze, put a half a gallon of antifreeze in. Start the engine all up, get everything loaded up into the truck, and I'm doing a little bit of a walk around the tractor, and I'm noticing a big puddle. And it's dark outside, and I got my flashlight going. A dark puddle on the right side of the tractor of something. Stick my finger down into it, and it smells like diesel. Well, that can't be good. And so I moved the truck because, hey, last thing I want is for the diesel to catch fire and I get burnt alive in the tractor overnight. So I move the tractor about 20 feet to my left into another parking place. And I said, well, I'll check it in the morning. And I went to sleep and everything was fine. Got up the next morning and sure enough, there was a new puddle. But now I've got the daylight and I can see where the drip is coming from. It's coming off of the right side fuel tank. And so I take some pictures, and what else was I doing? I was doing something else. And so I finished that up and walked over to my boss's office. Showed him the pictures, showed him I got a fuel leak. And of course, what is it about my truck? It seems like I've been broke down just almost from the jump, almost from the beginning of right before Thanksgiving. The first thing was the air conditioner. It's still not fixed. Oh, that's very nice. And so my boss tells the chief mechanic, I say the only mechanic that we've got, to find me a new fuel tank. And so that was at about 10 o'clock yesterday morning. And now in the meantime, I couldn't find my trailer that was supposed to get loaded. Just because I couldn't find it didn't mean it wasn't there, but it was somewhere on the yard because later I saw it. But it was supposed to get started loading load time was 10 o'clock, and it had been moved from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock for load time. Anyway, it took them 4.5 hours because when I saw the trailer, it was being pulled back out to parking at 2:30 in the afternoon at 14:30. Now, our trucking company is a privately owned trucking company. There's 15 trucks, and it's owned by a chemical company. So our location is the same location as the chemical company. And so there's all these storage tanks with access to rail lines and rail cars. And so it's not just a trucking company. By the way, I just love these scales on this whacker. It's just a beautiful set of scales. Yeah, I just find it interesting that they take all day to load the trailer and they were expecting me then to get it was going to Chicago, to get halfway to Chicago yesterday after loading, after 2:30 in the afternoon. I've always said that loading and going 500 miles or more on the same day is tantamount to torture, or as I have formerly said it, a fool's errand. And now it was set to deliver, and it's still set to deliver, as I understand it, tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. And so there's going to be a whole lot of midnight driving on that load, whoever it was assigned to. But that's not my concern right now. So I sat in the truck. My boss had instructed the mechanic to find a replacement fuel tank ASAP. So I sat there for about 10 o'clock till about 3:30. And I dozed and napped all day long. And it's not the restful kind of sleep, you got the anticipation, what's going to happen. And I will say that my boss's first inclination is not to think about the comfort and safety of the driver. Sorry, but that's my impression so far. With the number of nights that I've had to sleep in either a freezing or a scorching hot, which Sunday night was a sweltering night. And here's the thing, it got down to about 55 degrees with 95% humidity Sunday night. I looked it up. When I got up, when my alarm went off at 8 o'clock, yesterday morning, and I was laying in bed soaking wet. I live about an hour and a half, if not like, not like the easiest course of action would have been just to pack up and go back home. When you're carrying your own food, you got the refrigerator running, and it's not a DC, that is to say a 12-volt refrigerator. It's a AC, 120 refrigerator run off of an inverter that's wired into the battery. And so you carry all your groceries down. So somewhere around 2:30, 3 o'clock, my boss texts me from his office to where I'm at in the truck, which was probably all of 200-300 yards. But he's inside, I'm outside. Anyway, he says, is your fuel tank still dripping? Well, I don't know. The mechanic's been around. He said, I'm going to have to drain the tank of fuel. Then I've got to wait for the tank to dry, which he brought a 55-gallon drum and pumped some of my fuel out. But when I got out to look at it, my fuel tank was still half full. The drum was full, presumably 55 gallons, I guess. So I bent down just barely enough to see under that right side of the truck, and I saw a wet spot. And in the meantime, they had moved me from the concrete on the nice side of the parking lot over onto the dirt side on the other end of the parking lot, which was fine. I understood. They didn't want me to drip all over their nice new concrete. And so as I'm bent down looking underneath there, and I saw the wet spot, and then I saw the diesel fuel actually dripping from the tank. Drip. This is a slow drip. Drip, drip, drip. And so I texted my boss, yes, still dripping, haven't seen the mechanic. He came by twice to check. I don't know what all he was doing. And I can't say I really care, that's his business. And so he tells me, my boss texts me back and he says, well, go ahead and pack up and go on home. He says it's probably going to be at least 2 or 3 days. He says, stop by the office before you head out. Bring the paperwork, unload, which I did. And so he says to me, he said, it's going to be, 2 or 3 days till the thing is fixed. And also, now, before I left on the last trip, he says to me, well, we didn't get the AC fixed yet because the earliest appointment we could get is the middle of next week, which is still middle of next week because I got back on the Wednesday. He didn't have me go back to work until yesterday morning, which I went down to the truck Sunday night. And so middle of next week would be a week from today, tomorrow. Now, I don't know what his plan is altogether, but he said he was going to get the AC fixed and the tank, diesel tank fixed before I come back to work. And I said, thank you. That's all I've ever wanted was that AC fixed since the first day. I don't know why it's hard for some people to understand. You explain it to them, and it's like it goes right over their head. But even my boss said, well, it's not blowing super cold, but the mechanic says it's blowing cool enough. No, when it's 55 degrees outside, it may be blowing cool enough because it's picking up the outside air. But what it's not doing, and you can call it a second priority, or, how is it that an air conditioner actually cools? one of the main priorities or one of the main tasks of an air conditioner is to dehumidify the air. That's why whether it's an automobile or a big truck, you look underneath it while the AC is running and it's dripping water out because it's expelling that water that the air condenser is pulling out the moisture from the air, and that's what makes it feel cool. And why is that hard for people to understand? Watch a video, for crying out loud, on how an air conditioner works. And that really infuriates me. Well, it's cool enough. No, it's not. You sleep in the truck when it's 95% humidity outside, even though it's only 55 degrees air temperature outside. That's just, and it infuriates me that I'm the one that has to sleep in it, and you're the only one, you're just talking about it. Talk. And have been talking about it for 2 months. Get the damn thing fixed. I told my boss yesterday, I said, it might be 55 degrees down here at night with 95% humidity, but in Chicago, it's freezing temperatures. And so you've got to have a working AC heater. And just because it's cold up there, it's still going to be warm down, uncomfortably warm down here. So that's the, I'm on breakdown again. I think, however, this time I'm actually being paid for breakdown at home because I did everything they told me to do. I went down to the truck. I was there by the time, of course, I spent the night, Sunday night, in the truck. But I was there yesterday by the time they told me to be there, which was 10 o'clock. And then they told me to go home because, as my boss said when I went to go see him in the office at the end of the day, about 3 o'clock, he says, I cannot in good conscience send you out on the road with a leaking fuel tank. And he's right. It's not only not in good conscience, it's illegal because diesel fuel is a placarded hazmat product. And while it may be just dripping and leaking in small quantities, it's still a hazmat. And if you're leaking a hazmat, that comes with very steep fines and reclamation. It can cost, in fact, he said he was involved in a project one time of leaking diesel that cost over $100,000 for remediation. Well, I don't have a whole lot else to say. That's kind of catches up on the saga of truck driving over the last couple of days or so. But I expect to be out by Friday or Saturday anyway, depending upon how they find the fuel tank and get the air conditioning working, because he promised me that he was going to get it fixed this time. This time. Well, I've been watching some of the videos. Martin Chavetess and Bill M. have some interesting videos out. Bill talks about his super curb. Well, for those of you that might be interested in my weight loss, as I've said in previous videos, my normal average weight for the last 15 years within 5 pounds has been 240 to 245. And my doctor has even commented, and I've had the same doctor for over 20 years. He said, it's amazing how that you're always within about 5 pounds of 240, 245. And so now since December 1st, I just been, in my mind, inexplicably losing all this weight. My appetite has not diminished too much, maybe a little bit. But yesterday I scaled in, after I got home, had a shower, I scaled in at 220. And I've been on this precipitous decline from 240, 245 down to yesterday, 220. So I've lost 25 pounds. And who knows why. But I've got a colonoscopy coming up. And if you've been following me very long, since last year, you know that they found a polyp. Well, I've had 4 or 5 colonoscopies over the last 20 years. And I've always had polyps. So they've taken out the polyps, they've biopsied them, never had a problem. This last time there was a problem. There was a polyp that had cancer, colon cancer. And the cancer was 100% contained within the polyp, so the removal of the polyp, the cancer's gone. I did not follow up in a timely fashion like I should have, but we're rescheduled for March the 4th. And a lot of things have happened in between there that have prevented and so, they always tell you in the health, things, on the questionnaires, you fill out a medical questionnaire going into a new doctor or for a new procedure or something. Do you have any unexplained weight loss? And yeah, I do this time, and I've never experienced such a thing before. And like I say, it's not so much my appetite, I don't think. But March the 4th is coming up soon enough. We'll get over to the colonoscopy doctor, tell him what's going on, and see if there's any connection between, God forbid, that there's any lingering The other alternative is that I've got a faulty scale, which seems unlikely. Well, we're getting down to the finish here for the face shave in a minute or two. And then on to the head shave. All right, let's check the sideburns. All right, I think we'll call that quits on the face shave. And so we're using Whacker, Schmidt, half hollow. All right, dry it off a little bit. Do a proper post-shave cleanup and stropping here in a few minutes. And I was asked a question. Yes, I've got around 70 razors. I've got 7, 8. Actually, I got 9 7-day roll-ups. Of those 9, 8 of them are full. That is to say, they each have 7 razors in them. And so, the question was asked about long-term storage. And I don't do long-term storage. And of course, the definition of long-term comes into play here. What's your definition of long-term? But all my razors, and you might say except for my gold dollars and union razors, which I've largely taken out of rotation, largely have retired them. I don't use them. So, but all of my vintage razors, all of my new production razors are in usage, in rotation, and they come up in rotation about once every 4 to 6 months, depending upon how many shaves per week, how often I'm able to get a shave per week. But I follow a pretty serious or pretty dedicated form of rotation. And now I know people who have hundreds, even thousands of straight razors, and what they do, I don't know. Some of them are just haven't been restored yet. Some of them haven't been looked at yet, and so they're just thrown into a box or into a drawer, and there they sit with no attention. There are others who've restored razors, but they're not in regular rotation or usage, and so a longer term storage plan has been invoked, whatever that means. Using some sort of petroleum-based jelly to pack the blades in so that they don't rust or whatever. But for me, it's just mineral oil. And so they're in rotation. They do come up, as I say, every 4, 5, 6 months. And in all the years, I have rarely had any difficulty with good, proper storage, no defects in terms of rusting or anything like that. And so I've got these nice, and I'll let you look them up. I'm not going to parade them. Oh, look at this. There's a gentleman, Idlewild, California, Mountain Mike Leathers, and he uses buckskin. I've got 3 of his, tan, buckskin, brown, darker brown, and black. And then Thiers Assard has 7-day roll-ups in brown, leather roll-ups in brown and black. I've got 4 of those, so there's 3 there, so there's 7. And then I've got 3, so 10 blue denim roll-ups that my wife made me based upon the pattern of the buckskin from Mountain Mike. And but as I say, I've got 7, 8 that have razors that are in rotation, and then the 9th one has all of the gold dollar and union razors, and then the 10th denim, or the 10th roll up, the number 3 denim, is empty, if I remember correct. At this time, I don't remember exactly on that one. And so as they come up, and I probably should do a video on pre-shave and post-shave steps, but it's just stropping. It's just wiping it off, stropping, getting the oil off. I do about 20 laps on linen. And my home strops, I've got a total of 5 strops. My travel strops in my travel bag, Premium Strop Company, Illinois 361 leather, genuine leather, and Duke City buffalo, and which is very fast, very slick. And then my home strops are Premium Strop Company, no, Straight Razor Design, English Bridle. And then my Kaneyama 80,000. And they'll get anywhere, as I'm preparing for the shave, I will give the razor anywhere from 40 to 80 laps. 80, that's not right. 20 to 40 laps. Sometimes 50, depending upon which razor and what it is I'm trying to do, which don't mean anything other than it's not like I'm some great experimenter with the number of laps. Oh, I think stropping's important. I can't tell you. I think it smooths out and straightens out an edge. It doesn't sharpen an edge. Stropping, that is, don't sharpen it, but it might help in the polishing of it. It might, and certainly in the aligning of the edge. And so how many strokes do you need to actually make that happen in the aligning of the edge? And I think heat, something I never hear talked about in stropping, is the generation or the generating of heat. Not that much. I'm not talking about the kind that would imperil heat treatment on a piece of steel, temper. I'm not kind of talking about that level of heat, but just the heat that, to help align the edge. Bill M. made reference to what was it? He was talking about in this recent video about heat and temper, and I don't remember exactly, so forget I said. Maybe Bill will remind me. But certainly heat, I think, plays some role, and I've never heard anybody talk about it. I hit something up there. I hope it don't bleed. I don't know if you can see it create and straightening out that edge right there. It's weird, isn't it, how we get so fascinated by these sharp pieces of steel and the hair that it takes off, and I show you what little bit of hair I've gotten off, and it's still on the razor, and it's just, we go, ooh, yeah, yeah. So we get, I don't know, we just all like different kinds of things. And how smooth it makes our shaving with a straight razor, how smooth it makes our face feel, or our head, my head, feel. And the rest of the afternoon, I'll be playing with my face and playing with my head, rubbing my hands all over it while I'm watching movies, or that's my plan today, is to go out to the living room. My wife is working in the kitchen, dining room, well, the kitchenette, breakfast, it's all open concept. So we don't have a formal dining room per se. We have a 1,800 to 2,000 square foot house. It's 3 bedrooms with a study that my wife uses for a home office, and sometimes she works in there, and sometimes she works at the dining table in the kitchenette area, breakfast nook area. Ouch. Well, that one's going to bleed. Maybe. A little bit. But that one hurt. But it don't look like it's going to bleed too much. And by the time I get done with it, yeah, we'll see what happens with that. Alum is not a real styptic pencil. All right, I think that's about it for the head shave. All right, that's it. Oh, let's do some refinements here. Let's put the Allen block on. Let's get the brush down in the water to start soaking. So the Dovo razor, Colonel Conk did just fine as a head shaver. Nice and smooth, even though it drew blood, but that was my fault, not the razor's fault per se. All right. Put on a little Lucky Tiger tonic. All right, one more thing. We're going to use some Florida water. I think we got a few drops left in the bottom of this one. All right, that's it for our shave today. I'm going to do something about that after, off camera. So thank you for staying with me. We're a little long today, and I appreciate you staying with me. A big giant shout out to all of the straight razor shavers that I watch who make videos. You know who you are. You'll see a list of them in my description. and I appreciate all of you. So I will see you down the road.